planet catastrophe he's talking about. Planting and seeds.
To help the poorest 2 billion live better lives. But energy and climate are extremely important to these people. In fact, more important than to anyone else on the planet. The climate getting worse means that many years their crops won't grow. There'll be too much rain, not enough rain.
See,
things will change in ways
those
that
things that he's saying in this 10-year-old video.
And that leads to starvation. It leads to uncertainty.
Depopulation.
So the climate changes will be terrible for them. Also, the price of energy is very important to them. In fact, if you could pick just one thing to lower the price of to reduce poverty, by far you would pick energy. Now, the price of energy has come down over time. Really, advanced civilization
this is a 30-minute talk.
Is based on advances in energy. The coal revolution fueled very negative effects.
Temperature,
the effects on the weather,
negative effects.
Perhaps worse, the indirect effects in that the natural ecosystems can't adjust to these rapid changes. But bridge, and we can just sort of squeeze.
In this video, 10 years ago, he's talking about depopulation.
Now, we put out a lot of carbon dioxide every year, over 26 billion tons. For each American, it's about 20 tons.
This.
For people in poor countries, it's less than
And I dare you to watch all 30 minutes of it so you guys can understand.
For everyone on the planet. And somehow we have to make changes that will bring that down to zero.
One man can't start this shit off, though. This is what's funny as fuck about it. One person cannot start the apocalypse. All right. The reason why that says mosquitoes, malaria, and education, I'll let the video do the talking for me. First few minutes should be more than enough to like let you know what the fuck is up.
Naturally, that is, the market does not.
And he was here in LB, ironically.
The scientists, the communicators, the thinkers, the governments to do the right things. And only by paying attention to these things and having brilliant people who care and draw other people in can we make as much progress as we need to. So this morning I'm going to share two of these problems and talk about where they stand.
He's going to talk about pandemic.
But before I dive into those, I want to admit that I am an optimist. Any tough problem, I think it can be solved.
Yes,
and part of the reason I feel that way is looking at the past. Over the last century, average lifespan is more than
he did
double.
look at the past in this case.
Another statistic, perhaps my favorite, is to look at childhood deaths.
Of kids who died
as recently as 1960, 110 million children were born.
Look at what he's talking about.
And 20 million of those died.
That's another video I dare you to watch. I'm not going to go into full detail.
135 million children were born, so more, and less than 10 million of them died before the age of 5. So that's a factor of 2 reduction in the childhood death rate. It's a phenomenal thing. I mean, each one of those lives matters a lot. And the key reason we were able to do it was not only rising incomes, but also a few key breakthroughs. Vaccines that were used more widely. For example, measles was 4 million of the deaths back as recently as 1990, and now is under 400,000. So we really can make changes. The next breakthrough is to cut that 10 million in half again. And I think that's doable in well under 20 years. Why? Well, there's only a few diseases that account for the vast majority of those deaths. Diarrhea, pneumonia, and malaria. And so that brings us to the first problem that I'll raise this morning, which is how do we stop a disease, a deadly disease, that's spread by mosquitoes? Well, what's the history of this disease? It's been a severe disease for thousands of years. In fact, if we look at the genetic code, it's the only disease we can see that people who lived in Africa actually evolved several things to avoid malarial deaths. Deaths actually peaked at a bit over 5 million in the 1930s. So it was absolutely gigantic. And the disease, British military man.
What I'm looking for.
Sorry, I'm a little bit. There. There's no reason only poor people should have the experience. For example, there's more money put into baldness drugs than are put into malaria. Now, baldness it's a terrible thing.
He must have been the one that told President Trump
and rich men
to use the malaria vaccine.
And so that's why that priority leads to the paradox that because the disease is only in the poor countries, it doesn't get much investment. For example, there's more money put into baldness drugs than are put into malaria. Now, baldness it's a terrible thing.
Yeah, you're going bald.
And rich men are afflicted. So that's why that priority has been set.
Everything has a priority.
Like a million deaths a year caused by malaria.
That word is key here. Everything has priority, and rich men have priority. There's more money invested in, like he said his damn self, in hair products, because obviously this nigga's going bald at times still. But he wasn't just talking about the mosquitoes that infect people. He was all in this video. He's gonna be talking towards like the middle, I think. I ain't about to go more into detail because I ain't trying to have a fucking half an hour video explaining half this crap. It's better that people just watch themselves and wake up. But yeah.
Malaria greatly understate its impact. Over 200 million people at any one time are suffering from it. Means that you can't get the economies in these areas going because it holds things back so much. Now, malaria is, of course, transmitted by mosquitoes. I brought some here so you could
be scared.
Experience this. We'll let those roam around the.
He had mosquitoes in that thing. That's what's funny as fuck about it.
There's no reason only poor people should have the experience.
You see that? And they're all laughing. All those people are all his peers.
So we've come up with a few new things. We've got bed nets, and bed nets are a great tool. What it means is the mother and child stay under the bed net at night. And so the mosquitoes that bite late at night can't get at them.
Dude.
A country with the right tools in the right way, and you do it vigorously, you can actually get a local eradication. And that's where we saw the malaria map shrinking. Or if you go in kind of half-heartedly, again. And the world has gone through.
I know, I fucking seen it.
Involves communicators to keep.
And by the way, that's fucking lame, dude.
Keep the visibility high.
That's how many people saw this video. If
it involves
people
social
saw it,
scientists,
you guys probably understand a little bit more what's going on.
Not just 70% of people who use the bed net together. Of course, we need drug companies to give us their expertise on that we'd understand very well. It worked fairly well. There are fairly effective teachers in a narrow set of places. So the top 20% of students have gotten a good education, and those top 20%.
I'm in the top 20%. I give up. I give that.
World, if you measure them against the other top 20%,
I ain't
and they've gone on
with this
to
shit.
Create the revolutions in software and biotechnology and keep the U.S. at the forefront. Now, the strength for those top 20% is starting to fade on a relative basis, but even more concerning is the education that the balance of people are getting. Not only has that been weak, it's getting weaker. And if you look at the economy, it really is only providing opportunities now to people with a better education.
Yep.
And so we have to change this. We have to change it so that people have equal opportunity. We have to change it so that the country is strong and stays in the forefront of things that are driven by advanced education like science and mathematics.
Yep.
When I first learned the statistics, I was pretty stunned at how bad things are. over 30% of kids never finish high school. And that had been covered up for a long time because they always took the dropout rate as the number who started in senior year and then compared it to the, and that, doesn't seem, well, wow, that's good. We should reward those people. We should retain those people. We should find out what they're doing and transfer that skill to other people. But I can tell you that absolutely is not happening today.
I've been doing
What are the characteristics of this top quartile? What do they look like? You might think, well, these must be very senior teachers. And the answer is no. Once somebody is taught for 3 years, their teaching quality does not change thereafter. The variation is very, very small. You might think, well, these are people with master's degrees. They've gone back and they've gotten their master's of education. This chart takes 4 different factors and says, how much do they explain teaching quality? That bottom thing, which says there's no effect at all, is a master's degree. Now, the way the pay system works is there's 2 things that are rewarded. One is seniority, because your pay goes up and you vest into your pension. And the second is giving extra money to people who get their master's degree. But it in no way is associated with being a better teacher. Teach for America, slight effect. For math teachers, majoring in math is a measurable effect. But overwhelmingly, it's your past performance. There are some people who are very good at this. And we've done almost nothing to study what that is and to draw it in, to replicate it, to raise the average capability, or to encourage the people with it to stay in the system. You might say, well, do the good teachers stay and the bad teachers leave? The answer is...
Okay. All right, and then, wow, a week ago, Bill Gates warned us about pandemics multiple times. He didn't warn people about shit. He warned his peers about what he wanted to do. Okay. Now let's go to motherfucking Innovating Zero. The next outbreak, this motherfucker talked about low-key.
Huge amount in nuclear deterrence. But we've actually invested very little in a system to stop an epidemic.
Boom. Ironically, that's what's happening. Look at that picture right there. Doesn't that look familiar
Let's look at Ebola. I'm sure all of you read about it in
Remember when it came over here?
Lots of tough challenges.
All the viruses he named have appeared on United States soil.
We use to track polio eradication.
Polio's been here.
And as you look at what went on, the problem wasn't that there was a system that didn't work well enough. The problem was that we didn't have a system at all. In fact, there are some pretty obvious key missing pieces.
Okay.
We didn't have a group of epidemiologists.
Now let's fast forward.
Now, Médecins Sans Frontières.
Let's fast forward.
Came in on paper. Very delayed before they were put online, and they were extremely inaccurate. We didn't have a medical team ready to go. We didn't have a way of preparing people. Now, Médecins Sans Frontières did a great job orchestrating volunteers, but even so, we were far slower than we should have been getting the thousands of workers into these countries. And a large epidemic would require us to have hundreds of thousands of workers. There was no one there to look at treatment approaches, no one to look at the diagnostics, no one to figure out what tools should be used.
Listen to it, the
fact
you're saying those words.
We could have taken the blood of survivors, processed it, and put that plasma back in people to protect them. But that was never tried.
That was never tried.
So there was a lot that was missing. And these things are really a global failure. The WHO is funded to monitor epidemics, but not to do these things I talked about. Now in the movies, it's quite different. There's a group of handsome epidemiologists ready to go. They move in, they save the day.
1, 2,
but
3,
that's just
in the movie called
pure Hollywood. The failure to prepare could allow the next epidemic to be dramatically more devastating than Ebola. Let's look at the progression of Ebola.
Yeah, look at the progression
over this year.
Ebola. And that was in 2015.
About 10,000 people died, and nearly all were in the three are so sick that they're bedridden. And so there are things that would literally make things 1,000 times worse. In fact, let's look at a model of a virus spread through the air like the span all the science and technology that we talk about here. We've got cell phones to get information from the public and get information out to them.
Yeah,
we have satellite maps where we can see where people are and where they're moving. We have advances in biology that should dramatically change the turnaround time to look at a pathogen and be able to make drugs and vaccines that fit for that pathogen. So we can have tools, but those tools need to be put into an overall global health system. And we have reserves that can scale us up to large numbers and kinds of things we need to deal with an epidemic expertise. And then we need to pair those medical people with the military, taking advantage of the military's ability to move fast, do logistics, and secure areas. We need to do simulations, germ games, not war games, so that we see where the holes are.
Now,
the last time a germ game was done in the United States was back in 2001, and it didn't go so well. So far, the score is germs 1, people 0. Finally, we need lots of advanced R&D in areas of vaccines,
research and development.
And
if you dumbasses don't know what R&D
there
is.
Are some big breakthroughs, like the adeno-associated virus, that could work very, very quickly.
You see that? The name
now,
you just said?
I don't have an exact budget for what this would cost, but I'm quite sure it's very modest compared to the potential harm. The World Bank estimates that if we have a worldwide flu epidemic, global wealth will go down by over $3 trillion. And we'd have millions and millions of deaths.
That's how much money he has in his account.
Beyond just being ready for the epidemic. The primary health care, the R&D, those things would reduce global health equity and make the world more just as well as more safe. So I think this should absolutely be a priority. There's no need to panic. We don't have to hoard cans of spaghetti or go down into the basement. But we need to get going, because time is not on our side. In fact, if there's one positive thing that...
He was planning all this crap, is my opinion. All of it, but it wasn't just him. Okay? It was a group of fucking motherfuckers. I'm not saying it was just Bill Gates by himself trying to fucking do some crazy shit. No, I'm saying it was a group of motherfuckers. And this motherfucker, being who he is, could say it all in a video. And, like, for real, nobody will watch it. Until now. But nobody will watch it. And they'll disregard all that crap. Like, come on now, dudes. Think about it clear as day. Think about it clear as day. Bill Gates talks Trump. Oh yeah, he hates Donald Trump. So I wouldn't quite put it past him if he really was the one that tried to kill Trump with the corona. And if he's the one that gave it to governors, because that nigga could buy a country. We're talking about the economy's going to lose $3 trillion. This fool guy's way... Hello? He designed what I'm using? Like, think about that clear as day. Peter Person talking about pandemics. I don't know. It's going to be the world's opinion. But this nigga and a group of other niggas did some shicey nigga shit and want to depopulate some of the earth for whatever fucking reason they did. And I'm not buying it no more. Viruses don't just target certain people. It hits everybody the same. Everybody in their mouths. I'm fucking tired as fuck. But, yeah. I'm just saying, it's my theory that Bill Gates knows more than what he's letting on to know. Well, goodbye, guys. Have fun.